the first step is getting out of your seat. Okay, get out of your seat and recognize you've been a prisoner in Plato's cave, and now you start. The natural thing is explore the cave. The first thing is, where the hell am I then? So it begins this period of exploration of what is this place? And it's almost natural at that point to start making groups, because you feel so alone. So you're naturally going to gravitate to somebody else who's been up out of their seats for a long time already. And you think, well, they must know more than I do, which is probably true. And so you start having these groups. The problem is the group really helping the total freedom, or is the group just finding a different locking mechanism, you might say, a different viewpoint to keep you again distracted from, wait a minute, what's the exit? You know, because I think that's to me that's one of the hugest things. The problem with if we're dealing with the realm is, if the Plato's cave analogy is really correct, and we don't know where this originated, how Plato came up with this, whatever, but if it's relatively correct, then it doesn't matter where you are in the cave, what level you are, what level on the ladder, you're still in the cave.
Still in the cave.
Right? We're still actually distracted by something, as opposed to totally being in truth.
Hello and welcome. My name's Campbell and this is Spiral Up. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And today we've got Howdie back for another chat, a bit more philosophy. And we're going to continue down the road of glitching the matrix, and the matrix, what it is, and yeah, basically how we can help break it down, learn what it is, learn the rules of the matrix, the rules of the realm, all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, the continuing conversation. Welcome, Howdie.
Hey, it's for those who are wondering, it's been minus 20 degrees for like the last week. Even today, it's minus 10 this morning, which seems better. But I mean, I still have to be literally, even in my house, just sitting here wrapped up and fairly staying warm. It's incredibly cold early here.
That's amazing. It got to 37 here, Celsius, on about 4 days ago. Yeah, and then it dropped straight down. It's first day of summer today, and it's nice, but it's about 25, and went 37, like 32, 28, 25, and it's just like, what's going on here? A bit of
yeah, it's another thing. What we're talking about, the matrix and everything, is just weather.
Exactly.
How strange the weather's been in the last like 5 or 6 years. It makes no logical sense what it's doing.
None at all. And this, like you said, it sort of plays into the whole, what is the matrix? What we've learned definitely in the last 2 years, if not before, is it's a lot more malleable than we've been led to believe. And there's clearly people that have control of certain aspects of it, like the weather. We see this thing all the time, and we know they tell us that they rain seed and they do all this kind of stuff. So yeah, what is the matrix? What is all this? So just to start, you had to go with living in the past. We had a concept that we discussed, and it was basically, is a better way to change the future by actually going back and changing the past and focusing not on the future, but on the past. Because when you clear out and change things from the past, then if you're looking at this from a energetic, spiritual sort of viewpoint where there's no time, then everything up to that point should shift as well. So by changing the past, you should be changing the present and so the future. So how'd you go with that, Howdie?
Well, what was interesting about the experience, the days that I tried it, was you could see, first of all, that the mind didn't like it. The mind likes to view the past as just as a memory. Well, actually, there's two things. I should bring up the first part of it for our discussion, or even get to that part. The first part was determining what is the past, what even is the past. Because say I think of an event, I was at a party 30 years ago, let's say, what is that? It's just some memories that are coming up in my mind. It's just certain pictures and thoughts and feelings. How do I know that actually happened? Like if I created a fantasy today, right, and really believed and put certain people that I know into it, and what's the difference? What is the actual difference between the supposed memory and the fantasy, right? So had that as my first issue. When I'm looking at what I think is the past, how do I know?
Hmm. And the past is also subjective. If you went out and found 5 other people from that party 30 years ago, and you sort of talked to them and said, oh, what do you remember what happened? And you found a incident that you were all at, and you all, described what you thought, it would all be different. Because I think even over time, it's our perspective of life over time actually changes the past. It changes how we remember and view it. And I think as well, we
Right.
probably write out a lot of, the shall we say, unethical stuff that we do, the bad decision that we don't like to look at, and we kind of, push that aside and tend to, blame other people and all this. So yeah, I mean, the past is definitely subjective.
Yeah, it's subjective, and then of course it's the point of like the idea, the Westworld idea, where the robots are given a backstory. The robots are given history
Yep.
for themselves. That this is what happened, and that they're not real events at all. Events, things that maybe happened to the robots are in the last 2 or 3 years. That everything before that is just a download into their head that makes them believe something is real. So as we're stepping into this conversation, as we're trying to understand where we are, we've got two issues that we're fighting. First is our own personal life and our own personal life experience that we think we've had, 40, 50, whatever years. Did we? What if our reality started in 1985? And so everything before 1985 is just an implanted memory. How would I know the difference? That's the first question. How could you know the difference? And then we've got number two on the bigger scale from the standpoint of our world, our supposed realm that we live in. How far do we know we can go back with some certainty and say that's probably been lived by us, and the rest might be just just a computer stick that's been placed into this realm. And I couldn't come up with a way of determining the difference.
No, no, it's a good point. I used to say all the time, how do you know you weren't created 5 minutes ago and all your memories implanted? That, like you said, there's no way that you would ever know, just like being a Westworld robot. But another thing is the moon landing. When man landed on the moon, it was they showed it, but they showed it on big screens, like in parks and things. They didn't actually, transmit it to televisions. But all these people have memories of them sitting down watching their TV and seeing the moon landing. So this is
So it wasn't on
well, there
television.
you go. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think it's
Of course, I
just,
wasn't alive then, so I mean, I didn't have the experience at all. But that's just how it's always been presented,
and this is the
right?
thing. I think that's the other thing is it has been presented that way, and we see subsequent, sort of space things, and it's always on telly, and we see a lot of, it's probably the most, or at least was the most showed footage for, God knows how many, decades. It just got shown and shown again on the TV, and I think people, just assumed that sort of memory took over the original memory, because the original memory was they saw it, but it was just where they were and the surroundings that changed. But yeah, that's the thing. I've seen interviews and I think most people have the idea that they saw it at home on the TV. I mean, you even see it in shows, don't you? You see the little kids sitting down watching the TV and the rockets and things going up. So
Well, I'm going to look into that
God,
because
I hope
that's
I'm
an
right now.
interesting story. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've never looked into it, so
Yeah, yeah, no, that's
um,
something I remember. So I hope I remember that correctly. But yeah, but this is
like
this is the thing, our
because there'll be some people who actually would have seen it live. who are watching
Oh,
us
yeah.
right now. You
Yes.
can let
Let
us know in the
know.
comments what the answer for that is. But that takes us into so much. We haven't got to anything, but we both have studied history in such a really detailed fashion. And as soon as history particularly gets put into a movie, as soon as there's a movie version of history, it's like that version becomes cemented in people's minds as that's the real event. And it's like as soon as at least as long as it was still in books or whatever, there seemed to have been like this, people could think about it. But once it's in a movie and you've seen Tom Hanks on the beach of Normandy, that's what it is. And there's no other viewpoints allowed. So it's also the same thing, this idea of how easy it is to shape the narrative.
Exactly. With the wars, World War II. And the same thing is how many movies were there? That whole, the war was shown more, we saw more made up, war than actual war footage. There was more movies and things that, showing World War II than actual World War II footage. So when you think about it that way,
Right.
exactly, people are remembering, all the propaganda, all the stuff that wasn't real, because that's what they're seeing more of, and that's what they're attaching more to and getting more, they get emotional and emotionally attached to it. And
Right. And even
you
when
go.
you think about real footage, I mean, I remember back in the 1980s or 90s, there was almost, because I was studying this at the time, there was almost no real footage available. All of a sudden, like about 5 or 6 years ago, 10 years ago, all of this and color footage of the war shows up, and I have all these documentaries with these detail. Where the hell has this been for 50 years? Like you would have thought if you had this footage in the 1960s, you're going to show it. I mean, obviously it would be big ratings on TV. CBS would want to put this on.
Mm,
So where's it been for 50 years, and why all of a sudden did it just show up? Was it, again, is it one of these things? Did the realm itself just manufacture stuff? This is something I've also been wondering.
yeah.
How much how much do we, our mind and our thoughts create reality, but how much, you might say, is the realm like an AI generated thing ever since we've known it, ever since we've been born? And it's in itself creating what it needs to tell its story. And as things are missing or up and down, it's like it inserts what it needs into the story.
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely we see this all the time, especially in the study of history. So like you said with World War II, like with history, you'll look into something, for example, Star Forts, and there'll be hardly anything there. And then suddenly 6 months or a year later, there's suddenly all these books and maps popping up. And especially with the old maps, they just started popping up out of everywhere. And it's like, and I think about it all the time. I think, did we create these maps? Like, did we just literally, all this focused attention, did we just create it, and then suddenly it's there? And it's this whole proving ourselves right, because in the Tartaria research, it's happened so many times. Like with the red bricks, we used to look at these buildings, and we were thinking, most of them are red brick. Are these other ones that are they actually red brick, just covered up? And we started asking this question, and then suddenly all these pictures appear that hadn't appeared before, and you just get these
Right.
the red brick
Right.
showing, and it's like, yep, okay, we're right. And that's happened a few times. And so, yeah, exactly. How much are we co-creating, and or how much is it us, or is it the realm, the matrix helping us along our path, or proving us right, or just is it, part of the game? Yeah, this is the quest. We'll give you more information to keep going.
Right. That's the other flip side of this, right? That it's possible, if you think of the realm as a potentially trapping point for consciousness, if we think of it, if we examine it that way, that this realm is really the best way to trap you here is attention. Keep your attention focused on. So it doesn't matter what you're interested in, what you're focused on, the realm will start giving you stuff to keep you distracted, keep you busy. There's probably only one or two or three things we really need to do here. And from the realm, if this line of thinking is correct, then the AI, whatever runs this place, all it needs to do is keep you distracted enough that you're not doing the other three things you need to do. And that was kind of bringing me into the idea we're going to talk about potentially this the new Facebook idea of metaverse,
Yeah.
which right on the surface, when you start to hear what it is, that's what it's a giant distraction. It's a way to distract yourself from reality, to not be focused on this place and be focused on some other, artificial realm, and keep your attention there. So I'm wondering if we start using this as a gauge for ourselves, we might see that, because yeah, that what Campbell just said, as soon as you start looking for something, if you're first, you find nothing, there's zero. And then all of a sudden, a few people start talking about it, and all of a sudden, boom, this stuff just appears out of nowhere, and you've got 6 months of research.
Exactly. Yeah. They've got you for another 6 months.
Yeah.
It's a very good point. And that's another question, with these rabbit holes, and it gets asked a lot is, is there really, we all think we're doing something and discovering stuff, and we are, and it's all about, awareness and seeing further, but in the end,
Mhm.
is it the best thing that we could be doing? Like maybe, we should just be focusing on, the three things we need to do, right? Just be out there growing food and sitting in the sun and things like this. And then we'd have more time, because the more distracted we are, the faster time goes, right? I mean, just look at the last few years with all this stuff coming at us, and everyone's saying, where's the time? Where's the time? And it's just because we're so bombarded. But yeah, this is, and all the old, sages and mystics and things, most of them come from a core teaching of clear the mind, get rid of all those thoughts. That's how to escape, right? That's what pretty much what they say.
Right. So, I mean, I think Campbell's making some really good points here. It's a combination of two things. I mean, one, you have to investigate your reality and yourself, and what you believe. So, I mean, I don't think somebody could just start and just say, well, I'm going to just shut the world out, and I'm going to not look into anything, and, just clear my mind right at the beginning, because you haven't really looked into the realm. So I think in somebody's own way, that's just, you have to do that. I think that's, and it doesn't matter whether it's what field you're looking into. In our field, for example, we're looking into history in a really deep way. But I think there comes a certain point of time when you've reached a limit. When you've come to a certain limit, you've come to a huge understanding of not of one like little historical event. I mean, you have a pretty good idea of what history is now. That's the question point. Do I need to continue any further with this line of investigation, or is it time to stop that? Because now it'll be, before it was useful, now it's distraction, and where do I need to put my attention? So I think that's a really good question if we're talking about rules of the realm, where to put your attention, because that seems to be one thing we have the ability to choose, where we put our attention, and that's not talked about very often.
Yeah, it's a good point as well that you make of where is that line where things change from being helpful to being a distraction, to taking you back into the loop. And we see this so often, people start off with things and they're really good and they're happy, and, it goes well for them. And then, a year or two into it, they're just doing the same thing around and around, and they're like, oh, disheveled and, sort of lost their way. So that's like you say, that's what we have. That's where the power is in the choice. Okay, I've had enough of this. I'm going to make a conscious choice and do something different. And I think, we're programmed not to do that, aren't we? All of our schooling, everything, what are you going to be when you grow up? It's not what 10 things do you want to do? What 50 things do you want? What are all the things you want to do and be when you grow up? It's what's the one thing? What job are you going to get? And then you're going to do that forever.
Right.
It's not taught to us.
And it's also interesting, that question is not what do you want to be when you grow up, from the standpoint of traits and characteristics. It's a like a job. What locking mechanism thing, identity are you going to have, as opposed to when you say I'd like to be happy, or I'd like to be helpful, or I'd like to be whatever when I grow up, and then it's totally varied. I want to be a fireman. Box.
Exactly. And that's what we're taught. And this is the thing. And you know, going back to the metaverse is, you know, but we've been taught so much to externalize and you are, you know, your body and what you look like and your position, your job, your money, your car, all this kind of stuff. And of course, as that gets harder and harder to do, and you know, we all know that at its base, it's a big scam anyway. Doesn't really work. But you know, you can always jump in the virtual world, right? Then you can be good looking. You can be, you know, rich. You can have the sports car. And we've had a few movies come out of this. There's Ready Player One has come out. I'm not sure if you've seen that one. Yep. And there
No, I haven't
was,
seen it, but I've looked into it. Yeah.
there's another one. Oh, what's it? It's a can't remember. It's the name of a guy, and he's basically an NPC, and he wakes up in a game, and he's talking to all these humans who go in. And then I saw one with Bruce Willis in it, and I'm going to forget the name of this as well. But basically, this one, they had robots, right? So they could make robots that looked exactly like them, but you know, of course, they, you know, take the blemishes out, you know, make them all look nice and slim, and basically an upgraded version. And then they would lie down in a bed, and they could go out and use these robots and walk around. And it got to the point where they were so accessible, everyone just had a robot. And so everyone was basically lying in their rooms. And then, of course, you can imagine what happens. You know, you do this for 5 years and you get all these, you know, very fat, ugly, unhealthy people, right? Lying on these beds, and they're walking out there with these beautiful looking robots, pretending that they're young and fit and healthy, and just, you know, living this world that's completely fake. So, I mean, it's very interesting because that's definitely where they're trying to lead us, isn't it? They want us to give up the 3D, you know, sovereignty and jump into their world and just pretend to be something that we're not, you know, basically get all the stuff now and not have to work for it, right?
Right. The movie you're thinking of, I think, is called Surrogates.
Surrogates, yes, that's it. Yes, thank you. Yes.
And while you were talking, I was reminded of there was an image in Mark Zuckerberg's presentation, or one of the original presentation videos of this metaverse thing, and it was him walking down an aisle in a theater, and everybody is sitting in the theater with their glasses, with the, you know, the VR glasses on. And I just saw this picture and I'm like, that's Plato's Cave. There's everybody in the theater. They're all, like, in a sense, chained to their seats. They're all just sitting there staring at the headphones, staring at the glasses and the things in their ears. And, you know, they're not getting up. They're not even paying attention to Zuckerberg walking down the aisle. They're locked into whatever they think they're locked into. And you know, it's like, as you begin to dig into this and what they're trying to do here, yeah, I mean, is that us? Is the real me and the real Cambell sitting in a theater somewhere with a really high-tech set of virtual reality stuff on ourselves, and we're in here, and now, you know, I'm going to share with you, I've been getting these bouts of anxiety sometimes for the last number of years, 4 or 5 years. They just come for there's no reason. They just show up. I mean, there's some things I do in my world that agitate the body, but sometimes they just come for no reason. Wouldn't it be weird? I mean, this would make sense that if we, as me, the character, is starting to dig through the reality and seeing the fakeness of it, and you know, it's a simulation, it's artificial, it's not real. If there's a real me sitting in the theater with these VR glasses on, now having the experience of, holy crap, the me that's supposed to be not thinking it's a simulation is starting to think it's a simulation. What do I do? I don't want to be stuck in the real world again. How do I stay in here? The real me would be getting agitated. The real me would be anxious watching me figuring things out in the dream, so that anxiety would get turned back into the character here. So bizarrely, some of the anxiety I might be feeling is coming from the real me, having seen me in this dream figuring things out.
Yeah. It would explain, you know, all this stuff like channeling and talking to God and spirits and stuff too, wouldn't it? You know, it's, you know, literally, because it's We're in it somewhere different. And it's, it's an idea that's been thrown around a bit that, we're projecting in here, but let's hope we're not all, obese people lying on tables somewhere. I mean, could it be, that we're doing this, but, more for a short-term thing and an experience, it could be the same thing, but instead of us, being locked away, running away from life, is this something that is enhancing? And is that what, the apocalypse and the ascension is, right? It's all about waking up, right? And rising up. Is that when we take the VR goggles off and we're like, oh, okay, it was a game.
Yeah, of course, like anything, it could have value. It could have real interesting use and exploration and whatever else. But of course, the way we're seeing they're setting this up, where, like you say, it's the whole part of what's been going on for the last 2 years has been frightening humans to be afraid of going outside. Outside is scary. The outside is dangerous. Other people are dangerous. You shouldn't talk to them. You shouldn't give them hugs. Oh, the climate change, the whatever, something, there's a virus, and stay in your home. So home is safe, but humans have a need to interact with each other and a need to have business and commerce and whatever. So now you can do it safely in this artificial world where you can, and standing, oh, you don't have to go to the store anymore. Your artificial being will try on the clothes for you, and then you can just order them to your house. And I mean, that's I found one of the images. Can I share the screen?
Yeah.
Have that ability to do that?
Yep.
Okay, so screen. There we go. Share, and there's the image.
Oh wow, okay.
Plato's cave.
And they're all in a theater.
Right.
That's the weirdest thing.
Just
because they don't need the theater.
Yeah, they're in a theater.
So the theater is representing the bigger outside world, and they're all got their masks on there and refusing to look. Wow. That's a scary picture.
Yeah, and of course, there's this one guy kind of on the right side. He's the only one that's turned. Everyone else is facing directly forward, sitting perfect. He's kind of tilted to the side. So either he's having a different experience or he's hearing something. But I looked into this a little bit when we were going to have this conversation and stuff, and I'm starting to realize that how this thing actually operates is, which I didn't really understand. I've never really used them before, but somehow with what the glasses and whatever are doing are overriding the sensory input of the brain, right? The sensory decoders of the brain to make it think that what is being experienced here is the senses that you're experiencing really around you. That it's a giant trick of the brain is how it works. Because if you're in the VR goggles, you really think you're walking down the street. Like your body is responding as if there's a street and there's people and when there's a sound next to you. Turn your what was that? So it's actually overriding the brain from hearing or experiencing anything around you. It's like it's a giant deceptive trick, is what it is.
Yeah. And it's like you said before, trying on clothes. I mean, how nefarious is that? Because this is how it starts, right? They're just like, oh, you don't have to go shopping. Just you can try on clothes while you're this avatar. And then, of course, you get used to doing that. And then, oh, I'm going shopping. I'll just use my avatar. And then before you know it, using them all the time. Right. So it's interesting. I mean, and what about because this is the thing, if it's that interactive, obviously, we're just starting this, right? Imagine where it could be in, just 10 years, let alone 100. So it's literally like at that point, you'd be able to get into this thing and literally forget that you're in it. It would take over as your world. So that's a definite possibility, right? That you would literally think it would take over and you would think it was your world. And that, I guess, goes back to the memories as well, right? It would sort of start overriding how you see the past and what's actually true. But
right.
So how about from the other side? Is this, I mean, it's definitely all been planned, right? I mean, for this to come in now after the 2 years we've just had, I mean, come on, right? This was developed a long time ago. But what do you think of the possibility that this is all to wake us up? maybe we are in VR masks somewhere and we got stuck, or maybe, you know, we've been taken over or whatever. And this is because everything's so accentuated. Is this to really just to say, you know, is this the choice, you know, or do
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. We don't know,
we
right?
don't
We
know.
don't really know much of anything around here. That's the reason we're even having these conversations, is because how little we actually know, for sure.
Mm,
Um, I don't doubt though that even if the reason is nefarious, big word, even if the reason is, you know, destructive and locking in, I think each step of the process, as it happens, as it goes deeper and deeper and deeper, there would have to be more chances for certain individuals to kind of shake their head and go, "Wait a minute, something's wrong
get
here.
out.
Something's wrong. I'm not going any further." So it may not be designed to help, but with every step, there's probably another opportunity to get out.
Mm,
That would be my feeling.
yeah. I mean, my feeling since this has started is I think that they've been I think this plan was supposed to be rolled out over a longer period of time, and they've had to you know, push everything into 2 years. And that's why it's so bang, 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 bang. And that's doing it that way is waking people up. You know, that's just getting so hardcore so quickly. You can imagine if they had 6 years instead of 2 to roll this out, you know, they could do it a lot more under the radar, and people would kind of slip into it more. And yeah, so I think this is the thing I've always, you know, there's a lot of bad going on, but there seems to be, you know, whatever it is, good AI or, you know, the creator or whatever, but there's definitely something in there that just keeps popping up, you know, giving us choice, you know, is what it really is doing, I think. And so, I mean, and this is the thing, I mean, back to the Matrix, is it subjective to that point? Because we know that people who walk around going, the world sucks, I've never got any money, oh, poor little me, you know, their reality sucks and they've never got any money. So we know that we kind of create that, but do we create that on a bigger level? You know, as far as, do we create the reality we're going into and we're given these choices, or are we all splitting off at different points to different realities? And then this is the thing, then you get into the quantum realm and the fractal realities, and it gets very, very big,
Of
doesn't
course,
it?
the challenge comes to something I had said in one of my first Plato's Cave videos, and it's one of the things that's hard for people sometimes to recognize, is that the first step is getting out of your seat. Okay, get out of your seat and recognize you've been a prisoner in Plato's cave, and now you start. The natural thing is explore the cave. The first thing is, where the hell am I then? So it begins this period of exploration of what is this place? And it's almost natural at that point to start making groups, because you feel so alone. So you're naturally going to gravitate to somebody else who's been up out of their seats for a long time already. And you think, well, they must know more than I do, which is probably true. And so you start having these groups. The problem is the group really helping the total freedom, or is the group just finding a different locking mechanism, you might say, a different viewpoint to keep you again distracted from, wait a minute, what's the exit? You
Mm,
know, because I think that's, to me that's one of the hugest things. The problem with if we're dealing with the realm is, if the Plato's cave analogy is really correct, and we don't know where this originated, how Plato came up with this, whatever, but if it's relatively correct, then it doesn't matter where you are in the cave, what level you are, what level on the ladder, you're still in the cave,
it's in the
right?
cave.
We're
Yeah,
still in, we're still actually distracted by something, as opposed to totally being in truth.
mm,
So it's this, like I say, back, that it's a really fine line of where does exploration need to end, and where does, like you say, something else happen, where it's just it then becomes a total internal
mm.
journey, a total internal focus, and where the external literally gets shut out, and it's like, I don't care anymore about the external world. Now I know it's false. It's just a distraction to me. So 95% of my time will now be internal as opposed to the other way around. And
Mm.
I'm wondering if we're talking about trying to find rules of the realm, right? So here's the first this what we just talked about could be a rule. That's why I'm saying it. But here's a rule I maybe came up, and that is that I've heard recently. Okay, if it's a simulation, if it's artificial, if our realm is computer generated, there has to be limits. And the only reason there's a limit is because of the speed of the processor being used. The processor would have a certain ability to take in information, and after that point, it couldn't go further. So if someone says the speed of light, for example, is a endpoint, it's not an endpoint because of possibility. Of course, why would that be in an endless realm of possibility? Why would that have to be a stopping point of your speed? It would be a stopping point is if the processor couldn't handle everyone moving faster than the speed of light in its simulated realm. So this is also interesting. The more we find barriers and things that seem to be boxing us in could be more of an indication of that's the limit that the processor of this realm can take.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting, isn't it? And we could look into that in all, in music, in all different types of frequencies, in even geographical extent of where we're allowed to go. Yeah.
Right.
But it was interesting what you said about we're still in the
Because it
cave.
would also be the same too, like you say, with where can we go? There'd have to be a limit to how far you could travel in a sense that the simulation is made, because it would just require too big of a computer processing unit. So you have to limit certain things to this is it. This is the end. It can't go past that.
Yeah,
it can't handle it.
Unless it starts repeating, which we know it doesn't, then yeah, exactly. It's like when they make a game, there's an edge to the the digital world. And so that's pretty much the cave, right, where we're in, because everyone's running around thinking they're so awake, but it's like you said, we're still in the cave, we're still in the movie theater. And it's like, you can wake up and go, oh my gosh, we're in this place, what is it? And you can look around and see a chair, and it's like, oh, what's this? It's a chair. And you can get everyone to come over and look, what is this? Oh, it's something you sit, oh, look, there's another one here. And you spend a week and you map the whole thing out and you go, look, there's chairs everywhere. Yep, 200 chairs, great. Oh, but you've achieved nothing, there's great, there's 200 chairs, but what does that mean? But should you just be looking going, oh, okay, that's not the door, so let's keep going. That's not the door. Let's keep going. That's not the door. It's a different way to look at it, isn't it?
I would think one of the greatest exploration things somebody could possibly do, I know it's possible, is check the end of the world. Literally go south, and if you could just keep continuing in a southern direction, how far could if the world is the way we're told it is, if you could keep doing that, you would wind up where you first
where you started
from. You would just do a complete loop of the world.
Yeah.
If you kept going, would you reach an endpoint? And that would tell us a billion pieces of information. If somebody could go walking south, and then eventually there's a point, I can't walk anymore because I can't actually. It's like a force field, it's a whatever. I'm stopped. That would tell us a ton right there.
And
that could be.
This is the thing, we have stories, but we're not allowed down there to confirm any of it, are we? But we've got Project Fishbowl and Admiral Byrd, going out, and there's other stories, and saying that there is a boundary, that there's the firmament, right? Whatever that is. So is that why we're not allowed down there? Clearly there's a reason. It's either the end of the realm, or there's more realm, maybe level 2, maybe level 2's down there, right? Because maybe the world that we know is the theater now that we've woken up a bit. Now this is the theater, and we've got to find the door out of this, right? Out of this is the cave. This is Plato's cave, literally. So it could be either, couldn't it? All we know is that they don't want us to know. That's pretty much all we know about what's north and south. Lots of stories, but not, and even upwards. we can't prove what's up there. We've got lots of theories and, some interesting footage, but as far as proving anything, we just aren't allowed to do that yet. So that's an interesting thing, is we're not allowed to see the extremities of the natural world.
And that's so strange, because one thing, it seems like you say, it's so malleable. It has so much possibility, this realm, that you can almost do anything, but then again, we don't. We aren't flying up into the sky to actually see what's up there. We aren't able to, be like Superman and go over Antarctica and see what's going on. It's like even the ones who have tremendous abilities to shape their reality, well, they're not coming back with that information for us. Why not?
Good point. Yeah, all these channelers and remote viewers,
Yeah.
and I've heard some people go to Antarctica, but all you get back from these things are like, oh, they go and look at what the US, oh, we saw a US camp down there or something. There's no, yeah, you don't get any exploration really, do you? Oh, I got to the edge, I'll pass, this is how far you can go, or at this point it keeps going, or oh my gosh, I ended up back where I started, we don't get any of that. And that's a very good point, right? Is that because of the extremities? If it doesn't exist, you can't go there.
Right. Is it that, or is it something's hardwired into our system that makes it, even if you try to look for it, it's like it becomes like, you almost have like a hypnotic spell that you also then have to break this inner hypnotic spell to be able to actually perceive further than we're supposed to perceive. This becomes, I know it's maybe a weird conversation we're having for people compared to the others we've had, but it is really important, because it is making us try to ask, what do we really know about the realm on a very basic material level, which is very little, and trying to ask, why aren't we able to get more information when we can get information on a lot of other things from a lot of other, what you might almost call psychic ways, but these really big, important questions, we get zero information. Is it just people aren't interested? They don't want to do it. They don't think to do it, or is there something else, like you say, that's kind of like a wall that's stopping that makes it really, really hard to even go there?
Yeah, yeah. And if you're watching and you are a remote viewer or a channeler, psychic, yeah, have you done this? Have you tried it? And if not, will you? And leave us a comment. Because it's a very good question. It's, if we look at it like we're somewhere, there's, at the sort of easiest point, we're being ruled by people who aren't good for us, right? So you would think that people would be looking for a way out of this, right? Looking, and even on the rulers, we get all these, sort of, oh, they're these and they're, the families and that, but we don't get any solid, I've never heard an address, put it that way, right? This is where the Rockefellers live. This is their address. Why don't we get that?
Yeah.
It would
Like, I live up here at the north of the world, and there used to be a lot of stories, one that came out like in the 1920s, right, of people in the 1800s or whatever who got on a boat and sailed north, made it past the ice fields, and then wound up in like either a Shangri-La, a beautiful world, an entrance to the inner of the earth, and they went down and they had these experiences, and a lot of times I thought, wouldn't that would be the best life, almost the best life choice I could make, would just be find somebody with a really good Arctic boat, convince them to sail north, and let's see what the hell happens. If you die doing it, you die doing it. What the hell? I'm not going to probably know any more sitting here doing this than I would be by risking my life trying to do something like that. But in the 1880s, my guess is at least you could maybe get to it. Of course, now you're going to be hit by a row of, U.S. Navy battleships that'll try to make sure you can't. You even have to sneak through all of that to get through. And again, why are they so concerned with somebody going to the North Pole to check out what's there? obviously there's something we're not supposed to know.
Mm. And there's so many stories of the North Pole, of all these different, that I think that Smoky God from that was the 1600s, wasn't it? And they went up there, and they all kind of tell the same story. They go up through the ice, then it gets all stormy, and then it calms out and it starts to get warmer. There's always a whirlpool, and these stories we have them from different cultures. That there's not just one source. So what are they hiding? And all these places, when they talk about them, they always talk about, you can't just go there. You've got to be ready, or you've got to be invited, or you've got to be initiated. It's always something to do with, and I guess you could link it up to, the hero's journey. You've got to sort of become something before you can go there, which kind of, begs the question again, if that's true, why are they stopping us? And if that's true, then we couldn't get there anyway if we weren't ready, right? So what are they hiding?
Or is it just another set of disinformation to make us feel not worthy? Because that I know is one of the biggest steps from getting gifts from the universe, is the belief I don't deserve them. I'm not good enough. Somebody else should get the gift, not me. So if you don't feel worthy, you're not going to get it. But it's not like you have to do anything. You don't have to actually get better. It's just to see everybody's worthy. Everybody's already worthy of information and knowledge and understanding just because you exist. You don't have to become better and perfect and more terrific. You just have to accept that we are all. So I'm wondering if all of these ideas are just another way to make us feel I'm not good enough. I haven't done enough work. I'm not ready. Somebody hasn't sent me a letter from this particular organization to say I can go to the North Pole. So, okay, I just have to, as opposed to, again, regaining our own power and saying, there should be nothing that's left hidden from me if I want it to be known. So I am worthy and ready. So bring it on.
And is that it? Is that the journey? You're ready when you're ready. If you're ready to go, well, you're ready. This is the thing.
Yeah.
And like you say, we keep talking ourselves out of it and not making that step. And it's always, but the big powers that be will stop me. But this, but we're not allowed to. But. But that's, definitely depowering, isn't it? What would happen if we all just went bugger it, got a few boats, started sailing around, got some planes, because it's all doable. The main thing that we're locked into is a perspective that we can't do it. And we don't have the money. They own all the stuff. In reality, we own all the stuff. We paid for it. The powers that be didn't pay for it, that's for sure. So, it's all ours anyway. But this is the thing, it's ourselves that, and this is, like you said, this is what they play on, right? They try and stop us through our mind. And as soon as we believe that, then we stop ourselves. And this is the biggest trick, is that getting around that decision and understanding that, we deserve it and we are powerful. And maybe it is our realm. Maybe this is the awakening. When we all, understand that we deserve it and we all stand up together, then we'll get it.
Yeah. It takes us back to the past experiment we were talking about. So when I actually went into it, I took an event from the past. I haven't done it enough to be able to say I found it changed or it didn't change. And it was a smaller event that I was playing with. And I was trying to do it just before in the moments of going to sleep. So I was trying to do it between like that 20-minute period where you've gone to bed, you're not asleep yet, but you're not totally awake yet, and your mind is drifting anyway. So I would drift it to that, and I was looking to change some elements of the event. I can say at the very least the event feels different. I can't say it is different, but it at least doesn't have the same emotions attached to it. It wasn't anything bad, but it wasn't anything really good either. It was just an event that some stuff happened, general stuff. But I feel different. I do feel different about that event. So again, I'm wondering if you really focused on it for like 2 weeks straight, that was just your focus, that one event every night before you go to bed for 2 weeks. I have this like I say, this fantasy overlay, and I'm going to run through that fantasy overlay every night for 2 weeks, eventually would it literally cover the old memory?
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way. Like going to actually try and change it. That's yeah. Um, yeah, that's great because that could be used in so many different ways. Imagine, like these memories that a lot of people have of, that are traumatic or where they feel shame or whatever. Imagine reliving that and, the bully or whatever, and you just change what happens. The bully's coming at you and he slips up on a banana peel and everyone laughs at him. I mean, and if you overlay that, this is getting back to, yeah, exactly where we started. That would change everything, right? Up to this point. So it should erase all that trauma. Like it should literally change who you are now by imagining the past as different. So that's cool. So everyone, have a go.
Or at least by maybe not trying to tell people to erase it as if we're trying to say get rid of it. It's bad. More or less thinking
change it.
You're adding a second possibility to it. So you've got both then are there. So it's not now there isn't only the one view. There's these two views that you now can sort of see with both eyes equally. There's the one that you feel happened that's really messed up my life. And here's, like you say, this other side where something different happened. I made a change. I did what I felt I wanted to do. And now they kind of cancel each other out or they even each other out. So that one isn't higher or better than the other. You've now balanced the two sides. And maybe that's the best way of looking at it. How can you balance? You feel, a traumatic experience, you feel you're here. But we don't need to do this. We just need to balance. So maybe think of it that way, people. That we don't want to pretend it didn't happen or try to, say there's something wrong with it. It's just, but we don't need to carry it necessarily. We can even out a completely different story just as equally now because it's the past. It's just now a memory. We can share another memory.
Definitely, yeah. If we focus on getting rid of it, then we're focusing on it. So don't do that. But it's like you say, it's when we've only got one option, we have to be attached to it, right? You don't have another option. But when you've got two options, you sort of can't be attached. You can't be attached to both of them, can you? So you have to lose that attachment. I mean, that's how it has to. Perfect. Very nice. So I mean I think a perfect place to wrap it up. So guys, have a go at this. If there's anything that's in your, that's been worrying you, just small, doesn't have to be a big thing. Give it a go and let us know how you went, and all to do with just, not erasing, just try and overlay something different. What if this happened? What if this happened? Oh, that would have been funny. What if that happened? Just come up with some different scenarios and let them play out, and just through that process, see what happens. Don't try and force anything. Just sort of, because I guess it's all about losing attachment, isn't it? It's all about losing that that's me. It says, so it's all about, okay, options. Oh, it could have been that, could have been this. That would have been funny. And then it's kind of gone. And then you move on to the next part, I guess. And 20 years later, hopefully you're all fixed.
Yeah, I like that idea, actually, Campbell, of this idea of I'm playing with the scenario, not for a particular end result. I'm just playing for something different in the scenario and allowing my fantasy imagination to see what that might have become. And even like, look in a year in the future, what would my life have been look like in a year had this one change happened, just for fun, like just out of curiosity? How different would things be? And allow the experience to guide you rather than, like you say, you being forced and attached. And yeah, really interesting presentation there.
Yeah. Let it grow itself. Because when we sort of try and define things, we cut ourselves off, don't we, from potential. So if it's like, oh well, this happened, so the opposite is he did this. Well, it's much different to going, well, what could have happened, and just letting it come, and then that's more detachment. So there's your homework for the week, people. Make sure you leave us a comment. Obviously, make sure you go and check out Howdie's work. He's got a channel. I'll leave the link below. Give us a like and a comment, all that good stuff. And thank you, Howdie, again for another very interesting conversation. We seem to be making good ground on all these, and And we're getting some really good comments. So thank you for everyone for your comments. I've been going through them. Yeah, we really do appreciate them. And again, keep dropping the many ideas you've got for the rules of the realm, all that kind of stuff. And we'll keep going down this path. So thanks, Howdie, for joining me again. And hopefully, I guess we'll talk again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, thanks again, Campbell. Best wishes to everyone in Australia. Stay clear, stay strong. You're in the middle of the war, and that means, again, where's your possibility? Where is your doorway? That the more crisis comes, the bigger the doorway is. So keep remembering that and a lot of the world is thinking of you, even though we may not seem like we are.
Awesome. Thank you. And stay warm. All right, and we'll talk to you all on the next upload. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.